Welcome to Story Time with Max Payne. Today, I'm just going to tell stories. Today's story actually involves 3 stories, and it involves my very first territory in the wrestling business. You know, when I broke into the wrestling business, I broke in what I considered the hard way. I paid the price by working for Red Bastien in the WWF, building the ring, building the cage, taking jackets back and forth, all of those things that a beginner guy does. I did that for Red. And then Red said to me one day, "Hey, Max, you're going to have an opportunity to go train in Japan." And he warned me it wasn't going to be easy. And he was right. It wasn't easy. I flew to Japan, and my roommate there was Chris Benoit. He was an amazing guy. We had a great relationship, and we worked our tails off for almost a year and a half. Chris went a different path after he left New Japan, and I basically went on my own. Usually the Japanese would take care of the territory after you left there, and they would take care of you, but they didn't particularly like what I was doing in terms of my gimmick, so I decided to fend for myself. And I went out on my own and tried to find a territory to go work in when I got home from Japan. So, in 1988, I was booked into Bill Watts's UWF in Texas. It folded. Red got me another booking in Montreal. I was on my way out the door, literally, to Montreal to go work in Montreal, Canada. The territory folded. Finally, I don't remember how. I think it was myself. Somebody called me, and I ended up on the phone with this guy named Randy Hales. He was Jerry Lawler's go-for in the CWA in Memphis, Tennessee. And he said, "Yeah, Max, why don't you come on down here and do some wrestling down here in Memphis, Tennessee?" And I said, "Okay, I'm on my way." Didn't even argue. Got in my truck. 1972 Ford. It was an Orem City truck that was so deteriorated. I prayed the whole way there because it had a rod knocking, and wouldn't you know it, posthumously, as soon as I got there, it died. And now I don't even have a car. So I'm in Memphis, wrestling my tail off, been to Japan, made these sacrifices all over the world to try and be in the wrestling business. And so when I first heard about this guy they were bringing in, right away, it pissed me off. Because, you know, the wrestling business at that time was so focused on gas guys, or guys that were on anabolic steroids, or roid monsters, whatever you want to call them. If you looked great in a pair of tights, you had a job. Didn't matter whether you could wrestle or not, irrelevant at that time. All that mattered is that you were a great big dude that looked great in tights and glistened in the sun because you were tanned, ripped, and shredded. Well, I didn't fit that. Probably in the wrestling business, the best thing you could say is I was the antithesis of that. It always pissed me off that guys, just because they look good in tights, got jobs above me when I knew I could work their asses off. But it's a part of the business you have to learn to live with, and I remember crying to Red about it, and Red saying, "Don't worry about that shit. Just do your job and be a great wrestler. Everything else will take care of itself." So I set forth to do that. And then one week in the Memphis territory, they started booking this guy, and they were booking him as Lord Humongous. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm Overlord Max Payne. They're booking a guy named Lord Humongous. They're putting him on the card above me. I have the CWA championship belt and the tag team championship belt. And by God, that means a lot in Memphis, Tennessee. So I had both belts, and they're booking him above me. So now he's on his way into the territory, and I'm already pissed at him. Now he has a legend that precedes him. Everybody that's talking about this guy is saying he is the most difficult human being in the world to work with they've ever met. He's only been in the business for 6 months, and he's absolutely impossible to work with. He doesn't show up on time. He has this guy that he rides around with that tells him what to do and does everything for him, and if they get stoned and don't feel like going and doing a job, they don't go do it. And when I say doing a job, that doesn't mean he's doing a job. That means going to work and making money. So I already had this tremendous animosity towards this guy. And this particular week, he was booked on a spot town in I believe it was West Memphis, Arkansas. I'm going to just take a guess that that was the place. And it was at a high school. And the dressing room they chose for us was actually the science classroom. And I remember it like it was yesterday because, you know, how the science classroom always smelled. It had its own unique smell to it. And then add to that, it had that traditional old black tile that had the ugly yellow and white spots in it, you know, so that if there were any, you know, nuclear meltdowns, you could sweep the crap up, and had the big nozzles sticking out of the table, the propane, and we were all trying to mess with it. Anyway, so we're in there, and I realized that Lord Humongous, or Sidney Howard Eudy, is on his way to the dressing room. Oh my goodness. I'm about to be introduced to the Lord Humongous, Sidney Howard Eudy. And rest assured, he makes his entrance like he is Lord Humongous. He's got a shirt on that barely would pass for a shirt. It's a couple of strings with a little tab of garbage hanging on down here. And the first thing he does when he walks in the room is stand in the corner and do most musculars and go, "Oh, yeah, I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling so big," which totally endears me to him straight away. I walked over to him, introduced myself, said, "Hey, Max Payne." He said, "Yeah, whatever." And he walks around. So he's eyeing me, though. You know, he's one of those guys that has this real inferiority complex. So he's eyeing me all the time, wondering, how should I react to Max? And it was an interesting day because in the room, dressing with us, was the Job Guy tag team of Rough and Ready. Their names are Cleo and Larry Reeves, and they were great, great guys. I loved them. In fact, one time, the office, Lawler, wanted me to pin them both to prove my dominance in the ring. And I think it was Larry came to me and said, "Max, listen, man, we got to go to work tomorrow morning. And, you know, can we do something else?" That's why I told him I couldn't do it. And I'm like, "You guys are great. Don't worry about it. I loved them." So I'd already knew these guys, and I knew them well enough to know that I believe it was Cleo, if you're both still around, forgive me, but one of you was a very, very good arm wrestler. In fact, he was a world champion arm wrestler. And Sid is strutting around the room just bragging, and he actually says to me, "You know, Max, I'm pretty good at arm wrestling. You want to arm wrestle me?" And I'm like, "Oh, heavens no, Sid. You're way too strong for me. But I'll tell you what, Rough and Ready are really good. In fact, Larry is really good at arm wrestling. I'll bet you he'd arm wrestle you." And Sid looks over at him and literally laughs in his face because Rough and Ready weren't big guys. I mean, honestly, the biggest one of the two was probably, if he was lucky, 6 feet, 200 pounds, more like 180 to 190. And the other one was even smaller than that. They weren't big guys. That's why they used them, because they got to be on television and they didn't mind doing the job for anybody who came through the territory. I was actually really good friends with him. So when I said that to Sid, he laughed, and I defended him. And I said, "Well, the least you could do, Sid, is, you know, give the guy an opportunity to prove his skills as an arm wrestler." And now Sid started to blow up a little bit. All right, I'll arm wrestle the guy." I said, "Okay." So I'm the one who now drags over to, of course, we have the beautiful science tables that are higher than the average tables, actually perfect for arm wrestling. So Sid, of course, Larry or Cleo, whichever one it was, goes over, puts his arm on the table, But not Sid. Sid thinks he's at ABC's Wide World of Sports, ready to demonstrate his absolute prowess as the ultimate male and walk over and destroy this stupid little black man who thinks he's better than him at arm wrestling. I am Lord Humongous. Why would I even have to bow down to this garbage? But he does. Finally, after about 10 most musculars, and Sid at the time is so heavy on the sauce, you could have scraped him with a strigil, put it straight into a syringe, and it would have gotten the average man 3 weeks worth of anabolic steroid use. That's how greasy this guy was. He was so loaded up. Enter the moment of the competition. Now Sid is perfectly ready because he stood in the corner and done most musculars in every pose in the universe that any bodybuilder would do to assert his dominance over a 190-pound black man. He is 325 pounds, 6'9", and towers above this guy, no kidding, 1.5 feet. So we go over to the table. I'm the referee. Grab their hands. And when I let go, you would have thought the table exploded because Sid's hand, the back of his hand, hit the science table so fast it sounded like he'd just been slapped in the face. Bam, just like that. Oh my God. He loses his mind. I wasn't ready. You up, Max? You cheated. What's going on? Give me another chance. One more. I want another shot at it. And Larry just went, okay. So now Larry goes back over, goes up to the table, puts his arm on it, said, now you think the first routine was heavy? Holy crap. He summoned demons. Archangels are shooting into his body, lightning bolts from his finger. And now he's finding that big chin just blazing. He runs over to the table, puts his elbow on it, and says, get over here, Max. You do this right now. And I got my hands on there, and I let it go. Bam. Oh, my God. Now he's... it's over the top. It's the end of the world. This guy, I'm serious. I think he's going to jump out. Sid, don't jump out the window. So now Sid decides that he was robbed. It was an unfair competition because he's decided that now he's left-handed. I already know he's not. He's decided he's better at this left-handed. So now he says to him, I was cheated. I didn't get the opportunity. I got to do this the right way. Let's do it left-handed. And Larry says, okay. So Larry, being the obliging guy he was, goes over and sets his arm on the table. And now Sid starts to traverse the room. Boom, boom, boom. Lord Humongous, the world's greatest arm wrestler, is now prepared to meet the lowly Larry Reeves in a final competition, left-handed. Now Sid's got him, because this gun is even bigger than this gun. Oh my God, and now they meet in the middle, and they clasp hands, and I got my hands up on top of there. There's only one problem. Sid didn't realize that Larry was actually a left-handed champion arm wrestler. Bam! Oh my God, the nuclear explosion that literally, if you know Sid and you've been around him, he gets this face when he turns this pissed off look that is just, I can't even describe. His chin gets bigger, if that's humanly possible, and he turns into this ridiculous lunatic and flies out the door and slams the door. And we're all like going, Did we just witness that? I mean, it's not like it was the World Championship arm wrestling endeavor here. Sid, you arm wrestled a guy who is a job guy on the weekends in Memphis, Tennessee, and he just beat you so badly. Your arms are 26, he's were 15, 17, whatever. He was no midget. He wasn't little, but he was a very strong man, and he knew how to arm wrestle. Besides that, his arms were short. Sid's were really long. He had the perfect leverage. It was so easy for him to just destroy him instantly. He knew exactly how to do it. Sid didn't, but thought he was Lord Humongous. That was my first introduction to Sid. And I remember when he left the room, all of us sort of looking at each other going, wow, I guess all of the rumors are true.